Why we still can't play? That is the question that a lot of people are asking about this particular game, XDefiant, as Javier Mauricio writes this article on XDI, XDefiant Insider, talking about the chronological order of events that's been happening with XDefiant in terms of gaming news. And we're going to be taking a look at this article. We're also going to be taking a look at certain posts from XDI page on Twitter and talking about a certain very recent hack that happened on Discord. Let's talk about first about this XDefiant article, related article, written by Javier, talking about the chronological order of events that has happened for XDefiant ever since starting 2 years ago. Approximately 2 years ago, Ubisoft San Francisco revealed XDefiant, a new 6v6 free-to-play shooter that would contain several of the Tom Clancy's franchises, along with original franchises belonging to the French developer, like Far Cry, The Division, Ghost Recon, Splinter Cell, and Watch Dogs, and it would be launching on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. And the video is still, of course, up on YouTube if you want to watch it. I'm not going to link you to the video, I will link you to the article, however. The game, directed by Mark Rubin, former executive producer of the Call of Duty franchise, will feature five factions during launch, with each one have featuring their own exclusive abilities. For example, can do one of them can be invincible, the other one is a tank, the other one does grenades, the other one does shields, all that good stuff that you would expect from a game like this. After its announcement publicly, after its announcement, publicity, Ubisoft kept silent regarding this new release until 2023, last year, when it was announced that the game would feature 14 maps, 24 different guns, and 5 factions, and much more by the time it would officially launch. However, XDefiant would have a rocky road ahead regarding its ability to pinpoint a concrete launch date, at least as of the article being published, which is why here at XDI, we will explain explain through an extensive timeline the reasons why we still cannot play the new Ubisoft free-to-play shooter. And recently, we started covering XDefiant, talking about the recent weird things that has happened. If you have not seen about that yet, basically weird different items have had been appearing on the store related to XDefiant, like coins and new weapon skins. However, they have been removed, and then more new stuff has been appearing. They have been removed too. So something weird is going on here. You don't usually see that unless there is an actual launch. We'll talk about that in just a jiffy. A successful closed beta test. Last year, we had the beta test, and I was actually part of this beta test, and that was actually pretty good. So if we read on, it says on last year April, XDefiant held its first closed beta test, and the players were allowed to experience the first moment in with Ubisoft's new shooter, and it broke several records at the time, reaching almost the 1 million players milestone during the test on all available platforms. That's PC, Xbox, and Steam, and Series X and Y, X and S, excuse me. With these tests, the players helped the development team by providing viable feedback, something that Call of Duty never does, by the way. Here's the tweet that sent. Oh, by the way, all tweets are still available on the XDefiant full page. So here's the tweet about the 1 million players on the beta. Let's continue forward. Open beta June, and the problems start for XDefiant. So the first beta was was the closed beta, where you have to get an invite, basically. The open beta, it was in June. I played the open one, and this is the one where everybody was playing it. During Ubisoft Forward, their event, the team finally offered the first official release window for XDefiant, placing it somewhere around the summer of that year. Something that we know never happened, and obviously we never saw it happen because we're still talking about it today. Let's keep going. XDefiant's director Mark Rubin walked on stage to talk about their next free-to-play shooter, and there he confirmed that open beta tests would contain the fixes requested by the game's community. This open beta would take place between the 21st and 23rd of June, which we already did, which we established, and the Xbox One, PS4 would be excluded from that at that time. The open beta arrived at the established date. Nevertheless, many players presented multiple issues with the game, such as the infamous error code 170004, which didn't allow PC players, or the 9% bug, which would not let load into the game and leave a 9% loading screen. Now, bugs aside, in terms of the presentation of the game, it was actually pretty good. So I was looking forward to it still, and I'm still looking forward to it too. PS5 users, on the other hand, found themselves affected with frame issues, which resulted in the game having larger latency than expected during the matches. The machine's GPU, excuse me, CPU, was not being accelerated accordingly, which allowed the GPU to work twice as hard, adding another 40 additional milliseconds of unwanted latency. Latency, everybody knows about this word, especially when it comes to Call of Duty. You have to have good latency for hit detection and all that good stuff. And we know how a lot of people hate Call of Duty right now. This is why they're delaying XDefiant, because they want to make sure everything is correct. Next, next, next section talks about how they want to meet the embargo date. When XDefiant was announced, the game was planned for last and current gen consoles. But an inevitable news reached the audience when Ubisoft confirmed that it would come first to PlayStation 5, Xbox X, Series X and S, and PC, and that would be while the PS4 and Xbox One versions were still on the table. But they didn't have any specific date for the release of the game on the consoles. So this tweet presents us with the last summer. A small update as we're continuing to review feedback from the open session. The plan was to launch last summer. The launch would be PC, PS5, and Xbox X and S, and last gen later on. And they're going to provide more more updates when available. And it continues by saying Mark Rubin stood his ground regarding the launch window dated for summer 2023, saying that, quote, nothing has changed. But obviously, we know that a lot has changed at the time, and that we're still waiting for Ubisoft's approval to give the green light to the certification process on consoles. In August of 2023, Rubin stated regarding the state of the game, that they were still working on polishing last minute issues, reassuring that, quote, the team is working hard to make the progress every day, to make the game available as soon as it's ready, end of quote. Soon after that statement, Ubisoft would keep insisting that XDefiant would launch something sometime in the quote summer, and that the date would depend on previously mentioned certification process. The team explained that it will present the game to first parties, which is PlayStation and Xbox, in less than 2 weeks at a time. If that presentation worked, then the players would expect a launch toward the middle of September. However, if the game received a what they call conditional pass, which means it will require more fixes, then it would be probable that the game would launch in the middle of October along with the day one patch. What happened? The game was the game was approved on consoles, but it did not pass with an optional submission phase. And we can see here on the Twitter, I'm not gonna call it X, on December 3rd, 2023, this particular user asked, the problem is that the game was not approved on console. a sign that the game was poorly made. Mark Rubin replies with, "Huh? It was approved on consoles. We didn't pass our optional submission, but we never planned to. The sub is to just see how far complete we are, but we passed the real submission." So they already passed the real submission back on December 9, 2023. Ubisoft finally confirms the delay. This is the next section. A week after the announcement of showing the first parties, Ubisoft gave in and confirmed that XDefiant was going to be delayed. Mark Rubin then presented a long statement through Twitter, assuring that the community that they would have to wait until August to play something that has also never happened. And Mark Rubin at Pixels of Mark shows the following statement. I'm not going to read the entire thing. This will make the video over 35 minutes long, but basically saying what's been going on with QA testing and all that good stuff, and how he talks about the first party testing and to see if they passed it or not. Okay, but we will be taking a look at. We are currently evaluating the work, running some more large scale tests, and we will have an update for you once we know more. Despite the bad news, XDefiant held an exclusive public test for players on PC that was available for 6 hours, and that was enough for players to find more problems with the game that would extend more of the process, finding a proper release date. So there has never been a proper date. One of the things that many players noticed during the test was the adjusted speed movement that Xbox was showing. Displaying in contrast with previous tests, despite the players' comments, Mark Rubin confirmed that the development team did not change anything from previous builds of the game. And this particular post says the following. Mark, I understand that you're saying that the guys haven't changed anything. However, it is slower than it was in the beta test in April. The open session was also slower and less fluid. I shared this feedback months ago, and you said the same thing. You continue to say it's the same. Mark Rubin replies with the following: I totally believe you, and we were looking at where we might feel that's the case, but it didn't come from changing the movement. In other words, I want to squash any thoughts that we are purposely changing the movement to be slower. That didn't happen. And now we get to the big section that everybody's been talking about, and we are still in this phase today. And that is what nobody wanted to hear: an indefinite delay. There's there's two things: a delay and an indefinite delay. That's the one that nobody wanted. And here is the section. Not much time passed before Ubisoft would present a new press release related to the game, but this time going back in time to the moment when it was first announced. There would be no release window. This was posted by the official Xbox Twitter profile, and it says the following: on October 9, 2023. But it also surfaced some inconsistencies in the game, experience that we need to address prior to launching our preseason, which is season 0. So we made the decision to delay the preseason of XDefiant. This was from their Twitter back on October 9, 2023. The main reason for delay seems to be surfacing of several problems that would affect the game's quality of life, issues that would have never been found if it were the latest PTS, public test session, for example, the previous issue of the speed movement in the game. The next section talks about restructuring Xdefiant's vital systems. Because of all the issues, the Xdefiant team had to make the decision to replace the party system completely. That was another issue that I faced when I played, and it was because we were trying to party up with one of my PlayStation 5 buddies. and and that was one of the big things there too, as well as discovering that the frame spikes that were messing up with the game's failing were caused by anti-cheat software. The team would also make additional improvements to the netcode in order to reduce latency and mismatches between players when the connection was between them was not at its best. They also started working porting their service into Linux. This decision would improve the general performance of the servers, and it would also allow the servers to be activated a lot quicker, which would which would with some luck allow a better experience for players during the launch of the game. Finally, the team is decided to replace their in-social game system, which didn't offer the best quality experience when it went live. So not only are we talking about XDefiant being delayed because of systems, now we're going to be talking about the recent news, including that that March report that we talked about a few days ago, talking about the fiscal financial call, where March 2024 is to be the new release date, and let's take a look at that. Ubisoft delays even more the games to the new fiscal year. During Ubisoft's last financial report, which we covered a few days ago, it came the news that the many games would move the release window to the to that belong to the last quarter of 2023 to 2024, which is the fiscal year, which is January 2024 to March 2024. And that among these games would be the following: Skull and Bones, which were already released, Six Mobile, The Division Resurgence, and of course X Defiant. Skull and Bones was already released, and I heard there's a lot of a lot of little interesting reviews there. For those who are not acquainted with the term, the current fiscal year goes from until March 2024, which means that X Defiant could see its launch date between today, which is February 27th as of this recording, and March 31st, 2024, which means that it would be placed inside of the current fiscal year. This does not give us a proper release date, however, but at least we know that the game could launch in the incoming months. That is to say that the last official announcement delayed the game indefinitely. But now we have a probable release date. So with that being said though, we don't have a concrete release date. We have a probable release window. That is what is this saying. That's what this is saying here. The next section is talking about this month. Could we be playing the game in February? 2024 is starting, and XDefiant is still without a release date. But it seems like we will know likely soon about the new Ubisoft shooter in our hands. Mark Rubin gave the community an update on XDefiant development, and it seems to imply that the game will be released very soon. Here's that post that everybody's looking at. It is still a happy New Year, everybody. Have a great hope everyone had a great holiday. This was posted on January 2nd. Okay, I do want to highlight that they have addressed the net code and they have implemented a new party system and addressed issues. He always wants to say thank you to the members who worked throughout the holiday. The tweet mentions good news relating to fixing of the previously mentioned issues and the implementation of the new systems, giving the community hope that an anticipated game will finally have a release date. So, when do you think XDefiant will be available? Quotation mark. Quotation question mark. So, now we have finished the article, but the news is not over yet because there's some more news that we need to cover related to XDefiant. Now that we talked about the history of the release date, let's talk about the history also of the weird things that have been happening on the XDefiant. So I covered this a few days ago, but I want to go over review. So basically, what's been happening, I'm gonna go over to my normal um YouTube channel, which is the main one. So if we take a look at what I covered a few days ago, so a few days ago in gaming news section number 104, just kidding, but We have XDefiant items display game coming sooner, and then we have XDefiant coming in March quotation question mark. An investor meeting may hint. So here's where the weird stuff starts to happen. As you can see on the layout on the left side. Now obviously I was using my actual face cam, but that aside, that face cam aside, if you look at the left side, you notice I have my phone showing something. The reason why it was because at the time X-Defiant based items was also showing up. For example, coins, X-Defiant coins were showing up, and some weird stuff has been showing up. Now this is the low profile pack. This is like a skin that you can grab. This is no longer available. Same thing with this Midnight Velocity pack legendary. This little gun skin that has been popping up. That's no longer available. And as we see here, not that this one. Shout out to Sailor Galaxy though. Please subscribe to her as we get more subscribers. Anyway, as you can see here, we have a post by Raynor the first gamer, talking about items that have been added to the store Ubisoft Connect, including coins, boosters for the Battle Pass, and experience booster. That has popped up in the recent days, but those have been removed as well. Same thing here for the post here, talking about it in full detail. And then we go to the phone on the left side of the screen. Keep in mind, I'm using a app called Live Let's View for this to happen. Okay, so as you can see, I have my games played, XDefiant being one of them, and the only thing available right now officially is the XDefiant fan kit, which I actually use for this thumbnail for today's video, which is um one of the maps. I forgot which one, but I know it's one of the maps. So I'm also mentioned that I think it's also on the way. The investor call took place a few days earlier, and we have to go back to that video for more detail. So that investor call I talked about, and XDefiant coming in March quotation question mark, an investor meeting may hint. This was 2 weeks ago. As you can see here, we have, as you can see here on the bottom of that post, it says XDefiant loadout XDI loadout, says that the Ubisoft still planning to release XDefiant Season 0 sometime before March 31st, according to today's investors report. That you can see right here below XDefiant loadout. And we go into detail on this here, where the outlook says full 24, 2023, 2024. Quarter 4 netbooks is expecting to be sharply up, leading to the annual record. This quarter includes a lineup with Skull and Bones, Prince of Persia, and of course XDefiant. So we know that two of the games already released, I believe. Skull and Bones and Prince of Persia Lost Crown. Now it's XDefiant's turn to release during this window. And we talk about it more with this. Now I'm not gonna go into numbers talk, because I'm not sure how to read the financial report like this. But it does show that the whole XDefiant releasing. I do go over the entire article as well. If you guys want to take a look at that, you guys can. Then we talked about other stuff, including the responses to the actual post that a lot of that we were just talking about. And as you can see here, I do go into Call of Duty a little bit, because one of the arguments about X Defiant is that it should have launched back in the summer. And the reason being is because back in 2023, summer 2023, we were still talking about Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 in terms of the new season. And a lot of people were complaining that XDefiant should have been coming out at the time because Call of Duty was experiencing its worst portion of 2023 to 2024. It's been going down and still going down today. So that was the argument. They should have taken advantage of Call of Duty in terms of like, hey, we need more players for XDefiant to show off the game. Okay? And as you can see here, at the time, Call of Duty was still in the top 10, but now we have new games that have taken over. At the time, Power World was actually number 2. Okay? Power World, the new game that everybody's been talking about, and a lot of people have been talking about the new games. Helldiver 2, Power World has been coming up, and other stuff. And I believe Call of Duty today is no longer in the top 10 as of the recording this video. Let's just make sure of that to make sure of facts. If we take a look at Steam charts today in terms of Call of Duty, we noticed that Call of Duty is not even in the top 10. And that makes sense, actually. That literally makes sense. It is now number 16. That's right, 16. Not even top 15 today. This is today's stuff. And look at what is number 8. Top 10 Helldiver 2 was just recently released. An indie game or a new game is topping over COD. What were we talking about a few months ago, a few weeks ago? Power World. Power World is still top 10. It's actually top 5, and Call of Duty can't even do that. Why? Why do we always go back to Call of Duty when we're talking about XDefiant? Because a lot of people want to play the XDefiant is better card. That's why. And the reason for that is obvious. The recent news on Call of Duty has been doom, 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 and more doom. And now XDefiant is showing, hey, we listen to the community. We don't we do not trust in microtransactions. We don't want to have bundles. We do not have to want colored skins. And besides, those skins you can't see anyway because you are in a first person point of view. Who is going to buy a skin just because you cannot show it off in game at least. You can show it off in the lobby, but you're not going to show it off during the match. Be- because um because X-Defiant, just like Call of Duty, is first person. And another thing why a lot of people like the idea of X-Defiant is because Mark Rubin is transparent. We know that it sucks that we're not going to get the game right now. But at least Mark Rubin um has been you know transparent with us. Okay, he has been transparent with us. You're not gonna get news like this on with Call of Duty. No, they're not that transparent. Oh no, not even close. Okay, so that is why a lot of people are excited for XDefiant. I'm excited for XDefiant too. I have not played Call of Duty. Let me tell you this story time in the news video. I have not played Call of Duty since the launch of Power World, since I started playing Final Fantasy 9 again, and since I started playing Pokemon. I mean, excuse me, not Pokemon. Um, Mario. Ever since, no COD. And now I'm learning how to make a FPS game with Unity with a Unity kit thingy. So yeah, that makes sense. Also, some other stuff has been going on. This we have a look at what could be achievement for the XDefiant game. For example, we have challenges Sniper Club, the Sniper 500, which is you get 500 kills with a sniper. You can earn 250 experience points based on this particular achievement path, assuming that this is an actual real thing. And I'm actually checking my phone right now for to to, to cross check. And if you look at Xdefiant, let's see if they're pulling a thing here. No. So this that has been removed too. Apparently this is only showing on PS5 and Ubisoft. So this has been removed on the app as well. And then there's more news about Xdefiant, about um ranked play too, probably still in play there. And then apparently there's supposed to be a mode where it's 1v6, but the one is like a raid boss. And then something about clan wars, which we might go into another time. And they're talking about potential beta at the same time. So anything can happen, folks. Absolutely anything can happen. So that's gonna do it for today's edition of UK Gaming News. If you guys want more news, let me know. Stay tuned, subscribe today as we look forward to XDefiant, and we will have more gaming news within the next few days. So stay tuned on the channel, and we will see you guys on our next UK Gaming News. I am UK Productions, and we'll see you guys on our next story.